TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. Israeli Naval Commandos intercept a flotilla of radical left and Islamist activists who were overtly keen on breaking the naval blockade on the Gaza Strip. U.S. President Donald Trump announces that he has decided to postpone the attack on Iran. And Germany announces that it will deploy surface-to-air batteries in defense of NATO-ally Turkey. In evident defiance of international law, radical activists backed by monetary incentives have yet again sailed towards the Gaza Strip in a declared attempt to breach Israel's naval blockade. Consequently, Israel's naval commando units have yet again been dispatched to intercept some 24 vessels, which in this latest iteration have been funded by the Turkish IHH organization, a group backed by the Turkish government that has been both designated and banned from operating in multiple countries, including in Germany, where it was cited direct links to the Islamist Hamas terrorist organization. Meanwhile, during the naval interdiction, one of the activists confessed that he had participated in a similar flotilla that was intercepted by Israeli forces merely 2 weeks ago.
We have about 10-12 boats have been intercepted already, and more fast rips are approaching other boats and taking them to vessels very similar to the ones floating prison where we were put on 2 weeks ago.
Meanwhile, at the IDF Navy's headquarters, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with the forces operating at sea, hailing their professional conduct.
Please convey my congratulations to all the soldiers in the force. I think you are doing an outstanding job, both with the first flotilla and with this one, and effectively neutralizing a malicious plan designed to break the isolation we have imposed on Hamas terrorists in Gaza. You are doing this with great success, and I must say also quietly, and certainly with less prominence than our enemies expected, so heartfelt congratulations. Truly. Keep going until the end. Thank you.
It is important to underscore that according to the 2011 Palmer Report, a United Nations panel concluded that the naval blockade imposed by Israel against the Gaza Strip was a legitimate security measure to prevent weapons from reaching Hamas by sea, and that the blockade does comply with international law. Nevertheless, leaders in Spain, Ireland, and Turkey, among others, incessantly allege that Israel's blockade is illegal based on the fact that it does not align with their respective anti-Israel political narratives rather than any international legal foundation.
İsrail'in nasıl faşist bir zihniyet tarafından yönetildiğine
Today, we witnessed once again what a fascist mentality Israel is governed by. The global Sumud flotilla, taking humanitarian aid to Gaza, was attacked by Israeli forces in international waters. I curse in the strongest terms this act of piracy and banditry against the passengers of hope on the Sumud flotilla, comprised of citizens of 40 different countries. We are taking the necessary steps to ensure the safe return of our citizens on the flotilla. We call on the international community to take action against Israel's lawless and rule-breaking actions.
Meanwhile, German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul visited Ankara for a meeting with his Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan, during the course of which both top diplomats discussed a long list of issues of common concern. And while Turkey effectively continues to occupy northern Cyprus, which is a territory belonging to an EU member state, namely Cyprus, and in parallel threatens its neighbor Greece, which is both an EU member state as well as a NATO ally. Minister Vadaful praised Ankara's continued aspirations to become a full member of the European Union.
Wir hören von dir, lieber Hakan, und auch von Staatspräsident.
We hear from you, dear Hakan, and also from President Erdogan, that the Turkish government remains committed to the goal of full membership in the European Union. That is a good signal. From the German government's point of view, it is desirable that we further expand the strategic relationship between Turkey and the European Union, especially in areas where we pursue common interests. We support taking Turkey into account as an important NATO ally and a key trading partner of the European Union when expanding the European Union's defense policy and industrial policy instruments.
Die industriepolitischen Instrumente der Europäischen Union.
Berlin's top diplomat continued by announcing that the German military, or Bundeswehr, would deploy Patriot missile batteries in Turkey to join NATO allies, Spain and the United States, in protecting Turkish skies from renewed prospects of Iranian ballistic missile fire towards Turkey's territory.
Ich freue mich deswegen sehr.
I am therefore very pleased that the Bundeswehr can support Turkey by deploying another German Patriot battery. In recent weeks, there have been several instances of ballistic missiles being fired from Iran toward Turkey. All of them were intercepted by NATO. Our soldiers, with the Patriot battery, will actively contribute to ensuring that this remains the case. We all agree that Iran must no longer pose any threat to its neighbors in the future. Therefore, it must not acquire a nuclear weapon. It must end its ballistic missile program, as well as its policy of inflaming tensions in the region, and make the Strait of Hormuz navigable again without fees.
Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, for his part, highlighted Ankara's hope for a negotiated solution to achieve an end to the war, warning of the substantive risks which renewed hostilities caused the global markets.
Şu anda önceliğimiz ateşkesin muhafaza edilmesi.
At the moment, our priority is to preserve the ceasefire. If the war were to start again, it would cause serious economic and political problems around the world. We hope that both Iran and the United States are aware of these risks.
Meanwhile, in Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump announced overnight that on request of a number of leaders in the Arabian Gulf, he decided to postpone renewed attacks, which were scheduled for as early as today.
Well, other countries have come to me and they've said we were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I've put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran. And we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also. We've informed Israel. We've informed other people in the Middle East that have been involved with us, and it's a very positive development, but we'll see whether or not it amounts to anything. We've had periods of time where we thought pretty much getting close to making a deal, and didn't work out, but this is a little bit different. Now, we're ready going tomorrow, very big, and not something I wanted to do, but we have no choice because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
Meanwhile, in Doha, Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesman Majed Al-Ansari highlighted a collaborative effort by regional leaders to achieve a breakthrough vis-à-vis Iran.
As the U.S. President stated, the communications that came from the Gulf leaders, His Highness the Emir of the state, and his brothers in the region, were aimed at ensuring that diplomacy is given another chance, and that these communications continue. I will not comment on the nature of this extension if you wish, but what I will say is that communications are ongoing in the region, and their highnesses, majesties, and excellencies in our region are in constant contact with one another, as you saw, of course, during the communications I mentioned earlier, and with international partners, to ensure that there is no return to escalation. Of course, the biggest challenge now is related to the export of energy products, which affects global energy security and global energy prices on a daily basis. Currently, there are no different special arrangements, but without a doubt, closing the strait in this way increases the complexity for the international supply chains and the region in general.
The impact by Iran's continued efforts to thwart freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz is driving global state actors to end their reliance on vital energy and other products from the region, a deliberation that was also thoroughly discussed at the G7 Finance Ministerial.
All the proposals are on the table and we have no time to lose. I want us not to be dependent, not to be vulnerable. When it comes to Iran, we can see what it means to be dependent on fossil fuels. In Ukraine, when the war in Ukraine broke out, we saw what it means to be dependent on Russian gas. And we must be very careful here not to fall into the next dependency, which, to be honest, we are already in. We have every opportunity to change this and to take action. I reiterated this today within the G7. We should get started now.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, the Ayatollah regime's foreign ministry spokesman claimed that negotiations between the United States and Iran are ongoing.
علیرغم اینکه طرف‌های آمریکایی به صورت علنی اعلام کردن این طرح
Despite the fact that the American side publicly announced that this plan was rejected, we received, through the Pakistani mediator, a set of points and corrective considerations from their side. Therefore, from the day after our views were sent to the American side via Pakistan, we were faced with a set of proposals from the opposing side, which were reviewed over the past few days, and as was announced yesterday, our views were reciprocally conveyed to the American side.
متقابلاً نقطه نظرات ما به طرف آمریکایی منعکس شده. ما در عین اینکه همه تحرکات رو رصد می‌کنیم.
At the same time that we are monitoring all movements, we are certainly prepared for any event and any possibility as well. At the negotiating table, regardless of these threats, we continue our work focused on the interests of the Iranian nation. As for the threats, rest assured that we are fully aware of how to respond appropriately to even the smallest mistake from the opposing side.
It is important to highlight that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met last night with his most senior ministers and security practitioners to discuss a possible resumption of war against the Ayatollah regime in Iran, which, according to informed Western sources, is not a question of if, but rather when. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.